Do you ever feel like something about the Doberman breed is just calling your name? You just can't get these dogs out of your head day or night, and you don't know why? Well, there might actually be a reason for this, and all your excuses as to why you can't get a Doberman, they might have some basis in reality, or they might be just excuses. So in this video, it's gonna be pep talk time, and we're gonna talk about all those reasons why you're telling yourself you can't get a Doberman, and maybe smack a little sense into you along the way on this episode of Doberman Planet. All right, now that you're back to reality, let's try and keep you here, shall we? Look, I would never encourage you to go against what you know is best for you, but at the same time, I think there's a lot of you out there who are a little hard on yourselves and have to have everything just perfect before you'll give yourself permission to have one of these amazing dogs, and you might be missing out on some pretty special times along the way. So let's jump straight into it, shall we, and start smashing some of these excuses. If you work, yes, you can still own a Doberman. You know, I got my first Doberman when I was working 12-hour shifts, and that was incredibly rough, especially in that first year of life. But at the same time, you can just get creative, and you know, you can have a neighbor kid come by and check on the dog. You can have a dog walker come by. There's so many things you can do. Come here, buddy. There's so many things you can do to just get through those first few months. And then the dog is just usually at that point trustworthy and can be left alone. They might, you know, kind of whine a little bit sometimes or chew on their toys or that kind of thing, but they just love that attention when you get home, and they're happy to have it once you get home. So pile it on when you get home, but if your dog's trustworthy, and usually they are by 1 year of age, you'll have no problem after that. So don't let that little short time of hardship deprive you from a lifetime of having an amazing dog. Up next, if you have a family, yes, you can still get a Doberman. Look, I had a Doberman before I ever had kids, and I knew a lot about this breed and exactly what they're like before I ever had my firstborn. And trust me, I would never have a dog that could put my kids in any kind of jeopardy. And I had absolutely no reservations about having children with a Doberman in the house. They're great protectors. You get a basic level of protection with your dog with like zero training whatsoever, just based out of instincts alone with the Doberman breed. They're also really just calm, compassionate dogs. They're gentle around their kids. They start to incorporate them. They start to feel like one of the members of their pack, which is just a great thing. They're also just great on family outings. They'll join you out there at the river or the lake or the beach or wherever you go. And it's just a great thing to watch your kids grow up with a loving, caring, incredibly intelligent and loyal dog like the Doberman. If you live in an apartment or small housing of any kind, yes, you can still get a Doberman. You know, a lot of the hardships with that comes just specifically with getting them out and getting them their exercise and developing some sort of routine for getting them to go to the bathroom. Basically, that's it. They love being in a small place. A lot of people say, oh, Dobermans hate being in a small place. I need a huge house in order for a Doberman to be happy. Not true at all. They love to be right on top of their owners all the time. The only reason a large space really is beneficial is just so that they get their exercise more often throughout the day. But as long as you come up with a good routine to get them out of the apartment, out there moving around, maybe a walk every so often, a dog park, something to get them out and get that exercise, you'll do just fine. In fact, I have a video coming up on this topic, Dobermans in apartments. If you want to make sure you don't miss that, definitely hit that subscribe button down below so you don't miss it. If you're worried about the health of your dogs, yes, you can still get a Doberman. A lot of people use the handful of health conditions that affect the Doberman breed as a reason not to get these dogs. But look, every purebred dog has that handful of conditions that affects them a little bit more than other breeds. Look, the Rottweiler has a life expectancy, I think, of 8 to 10 years. The same as the Great Dane. Labrador, I believe, is 10 to 12 years. The official Doberman numbers are 10 to 13 years. That's official numbers. I've been seeing some data recently to suggest it's closer to the lower end of that, maybe even as little as 9 years for the Doberman. But a lot of people use this fear to keep them from experiencing all the things that a Doberman has to offer, which is really a shame. Let's pretend you had a crystal ball and you could see the future, and you could see for sure that you were going to lose your dog 2 years earlier than if you got this other breed. But in the process of getting that other breed, you end up with a dog who's not near as loyal, near as in tune with people, much more difficult to train, more difficult to train off-leash with off-leash activities, because Dobermans are notoriously good for that as well. And yeah, you miss out on all that. Oh, great, but you get an extra 2 years, which is great. Don't get me wrong. But would you still make that same decision? I love the Doberman breed, and you know what? They're healthy. Look at Arlo. He's vibrant, healthy. He's young and energetic. All right, well, he's pretty tired out. I took him to the dog park earlier, but you get the idea. Up next, if you're not going to enter any dog sports, yes, you can still get a Doberman. A lot of people hear all the buzz and the extraordinary things about the Doberman, and they think, oh, well, they have to do extraordinary things if they get a Doberman. They have to go into the show ring. They have to go into bite work or guard training, or they have to go to agility or obedience classes and enter in the ring and start getting some ribbons for those things. Otherwise, they have no business owning a Doberman. Not the case whatsoever. Yes, these dogs are working dogs, and they love having a role and a task to accomplish. But you know what? Most Dobermans out there right now are far beyond anything else. They are family dogs, and they excel there just as much. So you can absolutely get one of these dogs, even if you're not out there every weekend earning ribbons for the breed. Up next, if you don't have a fenced yard, yes, you can still get a Doberman. I have a fenced yard here. I'm in California. Most people in California have completely fenced in yards, but that's not the norm everywhere. In fact, a lot of the country just is normal not to have fenced yards. So a lot of people use this as a reason not to get a Doberman, but you can absolutely adapt to this as well. First of all, you can build a really inexpensive run or kennel. Now, you don't want to keep your dog in there all the time. Of course, you want them part as a family in with you, but if you needed a safe place to get your dog to temporarily outside the house on a nice day, you could have something like that. Chain link's pretty inexpensive. So are some other fencing options. Also, it'll get you really good with leash work. It may get you even really quickly preparing to go into off-leash training, including the recall command, which actually is something I did a whole video about. I was beginning recall training with my Doberman Arlo here, and you can actually see the beginning stages of recall training on this video that should be popping up in the corner of your screen right now. That was one I just did recently. We've been practicing that, and he's actually been getting pretty good, even a little bit better than what you saw in that video. But yeah, you can get really good with the off-leash training if you don't have a fence, of course. You can use a wireless fence as an absolute last-ditch necessity backup option. They do have those as well, just for a safety thing. But a kennel or run in your backyard is not that expensive, and your Doberman should really be with you in the house the majority of the time anyway. So it's just a few small things to get figured out, and really shouldn't be an excuse to deprive yourself of having one of these amazing dogs. If you're a first-time dog owner, yes, you can still get a Doberman. Look, a lot of people are scared to get a Doberman because of things like they've read on forums online, for example, or Facebook groups. A lot of people are saying, oh, never get a Doberman if it's your first dog. That's not really the case. There are a handful of people that do get into trouble when they get a Doberman for their first dog, but here's where they get into trouble. If it's your first dog, and a dog like a Doberman is a little bit on the dominant side, and they're incredibly intelligent, and they can manipulate you, and they know how to do that. And yes, I said manipulate you. That's how intelligent they are. So if it's your first dog and you're not super confident about your training style, you're not confident really how to potty train them, how to get them to exude certain behaviors and mannerisms in the house to make life with the dog easy, like how to stop them from jumping on people, how to stop them from jumping up in your lap when you don't want them to, for example, and those types of behaviors. And you're questioning your own training style because you're new to this whole dog thing, and you start switching it up, the Doberman is going to be smart enough to see that and potentially take advantage of that. So how you avoid that is just do some research ahead of time, make a little bit of a plan of how you're going to train your dog, do the best you can with the best training approach you can possibly come up with. I have things on my channel that'll help you along the way, and then just stick to it. Even if you don't have the ideal training methodology, these dogs are smart enough and they want to please you. They'll figure out what you want. Worse than having a training method that is a little bit less than ideal is to just be constantly switching up your training method, and then the dog will find gaps in that and will take advantage of you. That's where people get in trouble. So just make a plan, stick to it with a rock solid consistency, and even if it's your first dog, you should be just fine. If you're scared of dogs, yes, you can still own a Doberman. A lot of people are fearful of dogs, and Dobermans specifically, because of how television and movies have portrayed them, which is kind of understandable because we get a lot of exposure through that of television and movies throughout our lifetime. But you know what? When you meet a fear like this head on, right, and you get a young puppy Doberman and you see that puppy grow up and you bond with them, you're not going to get over your fear. You're just going to never have that fear about that dog, because as a dog parent, trust me, you just see your dog as that young puppy their whole life. And a lot of people have heard the myth that Dobermans snap and randomly turn on their owners. In fact, I did a video all about that, should be popping up in the corner of your screen right now. And you could take a look at that. We debunked that myth with some examples of the behavior of Dobermans, along with bite statistics, to actually show why that is not something you ever need to worry about really with the Doberman breed. So if you still have a fear of just dogs in general, I think, honestly, not only is it okay to get a Doberman, but it might actually help you get over it. Up next, if you have allergies, you might be able to still get a Doberman. Now, I say might because I'm not a doctor and I don't know your allergies, so you're gonna have to talk to your doctor about that. But I will say that plenty of people who have that sinus reactions to other dog breeds don't have near as bad a reaction to a Doberman because they have that short single layer coat and the really thick hairs that fall straight to the ground and don't float around in the air like many other breeds do. They don't have a lot of dander. If you keep your dog a little extra clean and you really focus on hydrating their coat, you can do a lot of good and you can actually really help minimize any kind of sinus reactions. Now, the one caveat to that is if you do have skin reactions quite frequently to things, that could be an issue with Dobermans because those hairs are thick and pointy. They're almost like little eyelashes. They can poke you a little bit. If you have really sensitive skin and you're worried about a skin reaction, I would say that's definitely a justified concern with the Doberman. But as far as sinuses go, the Doberman breed tends to be a little bit easier on them. Real quick, guys, I do want to say Dobermans are great in my mind for just so many reasons, but not the least of which are they're just incredibly adaptable dogs to many situations. They're eager to please their owners and they want to please you, which just helps with so many situations in living households that they go into. They're also fairly easy to care for. They like to stay clean. They're so much fun. And probably the best thing is they just make you a better you. I feel like my Dobermans have made me a better person overall. And that's just something you can't put a price on. If you're curious and you want to learn more about the Doberman breed, take a look at this video that's popping up in the corner of your screen right now, all about what makes the Doberman breed different than many other breeds. A lot of people were really surprised about some of the things in that video, and it created a little bit of a buzz. So check that out if you want to learn more about what makes the Doberman breed so special and so unique. And while you're at it, why don't you look at some of the other videos on my channel? I have over 100 videos all dedicated specifically just to Dobermans, no other breed, because in my mind, I couldn't possibly make a YouTube channel about even a handful of different breeds if one of them was a Doberman. The Doberman just stands out as so unique in my mind and so special and different that I really can't cover them and lump them in with a bunch of other people. So that's why all my videos are laser focused on the Doberman breed. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please take a look at the subscribe button down below. Is it red or is it gray? If it's red, then you definitely still need to click that subscribe button. Make sure that button is gray and hit that little bell icon next to it so you get notified on my next video and you won't miss it. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Arlo thanks you too. Arlo's just relaxing. It's a hot day. He's relaxing in the sand, digging himself a cool spot. He's loving it. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.